Welcome, everyone, to the fourth annual Omer Aliyah, a 7-week spiritual boot camp of personal elevation, or simply known as TOA. My name is Neuriel. Thank you for tuning into the Yesod seminar of our 7-week empowerment series. TOA is a global grassroots movement for every Jew around the world to utilize the power of Sfirat Omer and reveal our individual and collective greatness. Inside each of us is a light waiting to be unleashed, and by systematically rectifying spiritual blockages with Hashem's help, we will not only transform into the greatest versions of ourselves, but will also generate blessing for the world. Iteruta del Tata, iteruta del Ela. Our actions below will cause actions on high. By embarking on this journey together, we travel in time from Pesach to Shavuot, forming a global collective consciousness of Ish Echad B'Lev Echad, one person with one heart, just like our people experienced over 3,300 years ago at the base of Har Sinai. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our community partners and to thank and recognize our sponsors who are part of this grand vision. Suzanne Schweitzer, Fred and Susie Todchek, Josh Reef, and Charlene Venner in memory of Nathan, Shirley, and Philip Venner Zichron Livracha. For more information about being a sponsor, community partner, or TOA in general, please reach out at omeraliyah@gmail.com. And for more information, you can go to www.omeraliyah.com. We are in the week of Yesod, and I have the great pleasure of leading today's seminar. Before we begin, a couple housekeeping remarks. This seminar is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Omer Aliyah YouTube channel. I will then stop the recording, after which we will have an opportunity for open and confidential conversation. May Hashem bless the Omer Aliyah and all who are involved so that we may experience individual, national, and global geula speedily in our days. This empowerment seminar is dedicated to all who have sacrificed for our beloved Israel on and after October 7th. May Hashem safeguard our soldiers and deliver the hostages swiftly and safely. Before we dive into Yesod, I want to take a few minutes to zoom out and provide some context and background to the Sfirot and the Omer Aliyah journeys that we're all on. Music theory. Music theory is the study of frameworks for understanding the practices and possibilities of music. It's often concerned with abstract concepts such as tuning and tonal systems, consonance and dissonance, and rhythmic relationships. There is also a body of music theory concerning practical aspects such as the creation or the performance of music, orchestration, and improvisation. I remember when I was in high school, I registered for a music theory class thinking that it would essentially be one giant jam session. As you can imagine, I was shocked when I realized how much math there was and instantly regretted my decision. So why am I bringing up abstract and practical aspects of music theory? I'll circle back to this soon. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Shlomo Luria Ashkenazi, also known as the Arizal, is considered to be the father of modern Kabbalah. He lived in Israel in the 16th century, and his predecessor, teacher, and Kabbalah master in his own right was Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, also known as the Ramak. Now, I'm not a historian or an expert in the evolution and transmission of Kabbalah, but someone who I've been learning with for over 10 years is. He personally connects with the Arizal's approach to Kabbalah, which is extremely technical and to the average person can seem more like a hard science than a system of practical spirituality. He shared with me that the approach of the Omer Aliyah regarding Tikkun HaMidot, character rectification stemming from Hashem's divine attributes, is very much in line with the Ramak's approach to Kabbalah. Going back to music theory, now we can get a little bit of a better understanding of how Kabbalah is a system that is simultaneously abstract and technical, but in the times that we are living in is also meant to be accessible. While we may not be able to write a symphony or understand tuning and tonal systems, even a baby instinctively and intuitively dances to the rhythm of a song. Like a 7-tone spiritual musical scale, when we connect to the frequencies of these 7 sfirot or attributes, we engage in Tikkun HaMidot, the repairing of our personal character attributes. This individual repair then calibrates to and results in the repair of all creation, excuse me. And like an antenna that picks up a radio signal, when the connection is made, the most beautiful music starts to play. One act of goodness could have monumental cosmic impact and literally be the tipping point towards global redemption, a true redemption song. The journey of Sfirat Omer is a journey of Tikkun Hamidot, which directly contributes to Tikkun Olam, the ultimate repairing of our world. Our Omer Aliyah journeys are a spiritual inheritance for us all. So now, with that context, let's focus on this week's Sfira and Midah of Yesod, commonly translated as foundation. Yesod aggregates, if you will, the previous 5 Midot, Chesed, Gvura, Tferet, Netzach, and Hod, and is the final conduit of light before reaching Malchut, which is a feminine energy receptacle for them all. In the Sfirot tree diagram, Tferet, which we covered a few weeks ago, is directly above Yesod. This has great significance and implication. Based on Rabbi Benji Elson's teaching in his Dance of the Omer book, Tferet is the holding of contradiction, while Yesod is the next stage in Teferet's evolution. Specifically, it's the holding of contradiction in such a way where a new reality is birthed altogether. The holding of contradiction births a new reality altogether. And this is the theme of Yesod, in which I'd like to explore with you right now in 3 ways. Through the story of an IDF soldier, through Rav Kook's fourfold song, and with Yosef HaTzadik being the biblical archetype of Yesod. So professionally, I work for an organization called Brothers for Life. It's a rehab organization which helps injured IDF combat soldiers reclaim their lives. And I have the pleasure of being connected to the most incredible human beings who have sacrificed so much for the state of Israel and the Jewish people around the world. One of those people is Shon Amar. I have the pleasure of calling Shon a friend. As you can see from these pictures, he loves life. There's no way not to love Shon after you meet him. Shon was in the paratroopers unit in reserve duty in the days after October 7th. He was sent into Kfar Aza, where he and his team saw the most horrific things you could imagine and were engaged in a 4-day gunfight. He spotted a Hamas terrorist with an RPG, and unfortunately the terrorist managed to escape. The next day, Shon and his team were on a mission to find him. During the search, Shon was shot. A bullet entered the right side of his face and exited the left side. The injury resulted in bleeding in the brain, a ruptured artery in the neck, and a shattered jaw. Shon spent 7 months in the hospital healing, relearning how to eat solid foods and also how to speak again. Imagine going from being a strong warrior of Israel to now being confined to a hospital bed where you depend on people for everything. God willing, you and I will never have to experience such ordeals. After over half a year of relearning how to speak and learning to find his voice again, Shon was ready to share his voice with others. He joined the Brothers for Life community of injured combat soldiers and even decided that he wanted to share his story publicly. A few months ago, I planned a fundraising event here in Los Angeles where 3 soldiers flew in for it, including Shon. Now, you have to understand, these soldiers are not professional speakers. They are sharing their most intimate moments with people whom they've never met. So you never know if PTSD is going to kick in, or if they'll get very emotional, or if it'll be too hard for them to speak altogether. Thankfully, Shon spoke beautifully. That night, the amount of funds raised translated into 60 soldiers receiving an entire year of rehab services. A man without a voice regained his voice and then used his voice to in turn give voice to 60 new lives. Now, you'll notice that I capitalized the V in voice for one of those words, and I did that on purpose because inside of us is a divine voice that's always there. We have klipot, we have barriers that bury that voice. But through Sfira to Omer, we learn ways to remove those klipot and to access that divine voice inside. And through the hardships and ordeals that Shon experienced, he was able to access that voice and then help in turn give birth to a new reality for 60 new soldiers. And as you can see from these pictures, which are taken recently, Shon has found the spark of life again, and he's in great spirits. He and I are in touch regularly, and this is a happy ending story. So that's one example and one story of, again, Yesod being this evolution of Tiferet and giving birth to a new reality. Now, let's switch gears to Rav Kook, the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel pre-1948. And he has this beautiful Torah called the Fourfold Song, which has to do with the four dimensions of identity. And if you are unfamiliar with the works of Rav Kook, I highly recommend you look into them because this was a person that was absolutely beyond, that was a true light and a true leader of the Jewish people everywhere. So in order to properly receive these words, again, called the Fourfold Song, I'd like you to please take this opportunity, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes, take a deep breath. Let's step into Mochen de Gadlut, into expanded consciousness, in order to receive these words directly from the mind and soul of Rav Kook. There is one who sings the song of his own life, and in himself he finds everything, his full spiritual satisfaction. There is another who sings the song of his people. He leaves the circle of his own individual self because he finds it without sufficient breadth, without an idealistic basis. He aspires toward the heights, and he attaches himself with a gentle love to the whole community of Israel. Together with her, he sings her songs. He feels grieved in her afflictions and delights in her hopes. He contemplates noble and pure thoughts about her past and her future, and probes with love and wisdom her inner spiritual essence. There is another who reaches toward more distant realms, and he goes beyond the boundary of Israel to sing the song of man. His spirit extends to the wider vistas of the majesty of man generally and his noble essence. He aspires towards man's general goal and looks forward to his higher perfection. From this source of life, he draws the subjects of his meditation and study, his aspirations and his visions. Then there is one who rises toward wider horizons until he links himself with all existence, with all God's creatures, with all worlds, and he sings his song with all of them. It is of one such as this that tradition has said that whoever sings a portion of song each day is assured of having a share in the world to come. And then there is one who rises with all these songs in one ensemble, and they all join their voices. Together, they sing their songs with beauty. Each one lends vitality and life to the other. They are sounds of joy and gladness, sounds of jubilation and celebration, sounds of ecstasy and holiness. the song of the self, the song of the people, the song of man, the song of the world, all merge in him at all times in every hour. And this full comprehensiveness rises to become the song of holiness, the song of God, the song of Israel in its full strength and beauty, and its full authenticity and greatness. For those of you whose eyes are closed, you can now open them. The question is practically, how will this contradiction of me being me, but also me being so much more, birth a new reality? One answer is through our preparations for Shabbat. The song of the self. Again, bring it down practically. We all have our favorite foods, right? Our favorite, let's say, meats, whether it's a steak or sushi or candy or whatever it is, right? We're souls inside of a physical body, and we have drives and we have instincts and we have cravings. Channel those cravings for Shabbat, right? Honor that sense of self and enjoy yourself. Shabbat oneg, make it simple. And that's the song of the self. The song of the Jewish people, right? Reflect on the fact that Shabbat and how we observe it is a uniquely Jewish ritual to the point where when someone is in the conversion process, they're not allowed to fully keep Shabbat. Also, if you live by yourself, try to spend Shabbat with other Jews and tap into the fact that you're a part of a people, the song of the Jewish people, the song of humanity. As you're in a grocery store purchasing food for Shabbat, consider smiling at the cashier and wishing them a good day. That person is a part of your Shabbat preparations. And then finally, the song of the world. As we purchase our vegetables and proteins, especially when we recite brachot, blessings over them, we are sanctifying the plant and the animal, that which is part of the heartbeat of life on earth. Plus, from Friday sundown until Saturday night, Shabbat exists in all of creation, filling time and space, whether we're in a shul, in a synagogue in Yerushalayim, or camping in the middle of the woods. Shabbat is everywhere during that period. Okay, great. So now the question is, how does Shabbat birth a new reality? Our sages explain that Shabbat generates blessing for the week ahead. So whether it's in our jobs, relationships, health, or any other category of living, the blessings of Shabbat are with us in that following week. And on a personal note, my parents met over a Shabbat dinner. So this is probably the most literal example of Shabbat birthing a new reality. Okay, so we talked about the story of Shon. We talked about Rav Kook's fourfold song, and the final element or example of Yesod that I like to bring up now is through the story of Yosef HaTzadik, again, the original Yosef that we know from the TOA. So as Rabbi Benji Elson explains in his masterful Dance of the Omer book, Yosef learns to align with and becomes the archetype of Yesod, albeit at a different point of time than is commonly understood. This point came in the face of Yosef's ultimate test, the challenge of forgiving his brothers, for throwing him in the pit to die and selling him into slavery. In this moment, Yosef transitions from a self-preservation focused youth to a channeler of life who is focused on bringing goodness to others. In this moment, he finally steps out from behind his victim mentality, reclaims his past, brings it fully into the present, clarifies his own identity, and creates a new reality for himself, his brothers, and the entire future Jewish people. In Yosef's own words in Bereshit, then Yosef said to his brothers, "Come forward to me." And when they came forward, he said, "I am your brother Yosef, he whom you sold into Egypt. Now do not be distressed or reproach yourselves because you sold me. It was to save life that God sent me ahead of you. It is now 2 years that there has been a famine in the land, and there are still 5 years to come, which there shall be no yield from tilling. God has sent me ahead of you to ensure your survival on earth and to save your lives in an extraordinary deliverance. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. And he has made me a father to Paro, lord of all his household, and ruler over the whole land of Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, Thus says your son Yosef, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down without delay. You will dwell in the region of Goshen, where you will be near me. You and your children and your grandchildren, your flocks and your herds, all that is yours. There I will provide for you, for there are yet 5 years of famine to come. Come, lest you and your household and all that is yours perish. And then Rabbi Benji Elson concludes, and he says, we find that ultimately Yosef does not become the tzaddik, Yosef does become the tzaddik he was always meant to become, the humble, foundational center point around which the entire world orbited. So, Yosef Tzaddik became the archetype of Yesod when he forgave his brothers and realized that life is happening not just for him, but through him. His time in slavery gave birth to a new reality of total rule over Egypt, resulting in the saving of the Jewish people during that time. So, to conclude, this week of Yesod tried to identify a moment in your life where a contradiction birthed a new reality. My suggestion is to think of a moment that was filled with hardship. Why? That hardship has a special light that could only be birthed in that trying moment. The darkness is like a womb, concealing the light, but when we approach it in a sanctified way, that great light is born. After you identify this moment, use it as an anchor or as a foundation to refer to whenever you experience future hardships, remembering the special opportunities and unique light that are waiting to be revealed, waiting to be birthed. I wish us all a transformative week of Yesod and an elevated rest of our Omer Aliyah journeys. Thank you so much for tuning in.